my do the right thing but didn't started with the Bengals. And we talked to Thomas Dimitroff about this as well. They had a chance to protect Joe Burrow. I wonder how much they consulted Joe on this. Because, I mean, we had quarterbacks in Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson talk about how they weren't consulted on things. So do you think the Bengals, who really haven't consulted on anybody, went to Joe Burrow and said, hey, what do you think here? Because I'm telling you right now, if I'm a quarterback who got his ass beat, and that's what happened last year, I'm talking to my front office and say, get somebody to protect me, all right? Because when I was going through my progression to receivers, I didn't necessarily know, I mean, if Randy Moss is out there, I know where Randy Moss is, and that's where I'm going. And there may be 3 guys on him when I'm throwing the ball. But a bunch of times I'm just going through my progression, and I'm hitting the open receiver. This, for me, was a mistake. And then the Dolphins double down, too. They go with Jalen Waddle when they just got rid of Eric Flowers. They need to protect a quarterback that has been injured pretty much his whole career in college and in the pros, and really struggled last year. I don't think adding a speedster when you don't have the time to throw or the ability to do it is going to benefit them. Then the Eagles and Howie, how can you keep doing this? They traded up even to do this, to take a wide receiver. They took a wide receiver in the first round last year,
who didn't end up playing very much last year because he was injured.
Now, Devontae and Jalen played together, if you recall correctly. That whole first year, his whole freshman year at Alabama, they pulled Jalen at the half of the national championship, and Tua and Devontae Smith hooked up for the game-winning touchdown, if you recall.
Right.
So they have a relationship, but I know they're great receivers, and they all are great receivers, but I think there's a reason why you've gotten to the bottom here, Howie and Eagles. And if you're Eagles fans out there, you can't feel very good about what's transpired the last, 18 months or so with this organization. Now, I hate to do this because the Pittsburgh Steelers are my team. I go back as far as I can. Terry Bradshaw was my hero. Louis Lips jersey, I wore number 83 around my house all the time. When Bubby Brister and Mark Malone, I was all in on this Steelers team through their struggles. They have been the best team systematically for decades. 3 head coaches in over 40 years. You didn't need a running back. I love Najee Harris's story. I love the draft story from last night with what he got to experience,
awesome.
Right? He held a draft party at the homeless shelter he spent many a night at and celebrated with all those kids. What an inspirational story.
So cool.
I don't want to take anything away from that at all either. But from a football standpoint, you need to bolster the offensive line. Najee's not going to be running through it because you don't got anybody up there blocking. Ben Roethlisberger is going to be on his back. You needed a center. Landon Dickerson was right there, another Alabama guy. Still would have kept it at 6 Alabama first-rounders if Najee goes later. If you can get him in the second round, okay. I may take my foot off the gas pedal a little bit on my disdain for that pick. But stop drafting running backs in the first round. And then what do the Jacksonville Jaguars do? This is so Urban Meyer in the college mindset, like stockpiling players and not understanding that he has to cut it down to 53 players here. He does not have 125 that he can just hang on. And they got to pay him. You got to pay first-round money now to Travis Etienne, who's a great football player.
You mean they weren't doing that before? Or?
Well, yeah. Who knows? We don't know what Ohio State was doing. I don't think you have to pay anybody to go to Ohio State. That place can get whoever they want. So those were the 5 teams I thought last night truly lost. And if you are a fan base, I understand you're very excited with Jamar Chase, but I used this joke yesterday. Do you want Joe Burrow thrown to Auden Tate and T. Higgins, or do you want Brandon Allen thrown to Jamar Chase? Because that's what ultimately is going to happen. If you cannot protect the guy that can get it done at quarterback, you're asking for trouble. And you could have these pretty flashy things running all over the field, a la Super Bowl in Tampa. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, the best in the business, right? You don't have somebody to protect the quarterback, the guy that does it. Those guys are absolutely irrelevant. They made nothing happen in the Super Bowl. It was like they didn't even exist. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and those guys are not going to be a part of anything special if the guy pulling the trigger isn't on the football field. You have to take priority in what you do if you're a general manager. This is my resume. And, Philadelphia Eagles fans, I would love to live in Philly. I think it's a great city. Howie, come on, man. You're not helping them out, yourself out, or anybody out by moving up to take a wide receiver. That one was inexplicable to me. So just do the right thing, I ask. Just do the right thing. All right.
I want to hit on this real quick, Ryan. Your list here. It was a kind of a theme last night. Players getting reunited with former teammates.
And it feels so good.
Is that a thing? Does that matter? Is it going to come into play on the field? Is it a locker room thing? Like, how big of a deal is this that Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Travis Etienne, they get reunited with college quarterbacks?
It can't hurt to have commonality, right? A values system, right? There's values that you learn in college. These players at Alabama have learned a value system from Nick Saban, from Dabo Swinney. And Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence were together for 4 years, won a national championship together. Travis Etienne came back for a final year where a lot of people thought he should have probably gone to the draft. I don't think he helped his stock that much. He still went in the first round, but he didn't have the greatest of years last year. He looked shut down a couple times, in particular in that Notre Dame game up in South Bend where, he couldn't manufacture a yard.
Right.
So I think that, anytime you can get commonality, that's what always has astonished me, is that going into my second year after they fired Kevin Gilbride and June Jones took the Hawaii job, they went and hired a college coach. They just didn't hire my college coach. Why wouldn't you try to find the closest attachment to what your franchise quarterback wants? And that's why I think Joe Burrow, if he had a voice in this, said, hey, I know Jamar really well. Look what we did in college in that final year of mine. If I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm like, I had a great relationship with Devontae. Let's make that connection again. Same thing with Tua and Jalen Waddle, right? They know each other really well. Trevor and Travis Etienne. So it doesn't hurt, but I'm not. If I'm a general manager, I'm not trying to connect dots and be matchmaker again in all of this, right? I want to put the best possible players on my roster to give us a chance to win. And if they went above that, like we'd rather make a love connection here rather than win games, that's on them. And they won't be in that seat for long if that's the case.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.